So the left lane will start one frame, then the right lane will continue with two frames in a row. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to start the final round 3, top 16. Give a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen.
Hello, Matt.
Hello, good to be back.
We were here about a week ago.
Seems like just yesterday.
Yeah. So we're gonna follow some of the matches here now coming up. So we're going for a 3-game total. It's gonna win. And the match we're focusing on in the beginning is going to be Martin Larsen against Nathan Boyle.
To probably, I think in a lot of people's minds, two of the better players in the last probably 10, 15 years to not have a PBA title. And we were joking before we came on the air that, and I was talking with Brett Spangler, the Motive rep. I said, I wish these guys were bowling for the title versus bowling each other in the early rounds, because two very, very, very good shot-making bowlers who've been doing it, not to age them, but they've been doing it a good amount of years, and they're both great people. So it would be great to see them both win, if they could.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I know Nathan pretty well too, because we have some Motive staffers, so I see him when we go to the ladies on the PWBA. But I know Martin a lot better since we've been bowling together all our lives. And the last couple of, after the pandemic, it's been very urethane dominated here in Europe. And it's been hard for him, so I'm very glad to see him doing so well in his own tournament. It's even been 1 year in the tournament where he basically had to bowl every squad there is, and I don't know if he qualified anyway.
Yeah.
So this is, it's nice to see him qualify early and also go into the finals and do really well.
Yep, I agree. I think this is going to be a pretty good match. I think both bowlers are very evenly matched as far as physical capability. I think both bowlers have a pretty good ball reaction. It looked like in practice. I was down there in practice, and I think it's going to be a very close match, I think.
Do you think everything is going to be a little bit different now when you go head-to-head in a match, when it comes to building up the lane to benefit yourself in the third game and not your opponent? Because now we're bowling the tournament for 10 days and basically just been moving around, bowling game after game after game.
Yep.
I think it's been looking like some of the leftists have a very consistent reaction, moving from pair to pair to pair to pair.
Yep.
While we see some of the right-handers they shot 1500 in qualification,
Yep.
not having the same look at all.
Yeah, and I think that's just been, the left-handers are really just given one exact place to play.
Mm-hmm.
And for the most part across the house, they're all going to play in the same place with the same types of bowling balls.
Yeah.
They're going to be using urethane, and they're going to be, between 5 and 8 at the arrows, or 4 and 8 at the arrows, generally all doing the same thing. The right-hand side is you get a lot of different people doing a lot of different things. So the cross can be pretty tricky.
Yeah.
And so I think that's why, there's 4 left-handers left here in the top 16. Five. So, that's that's a little more than 25%. So, which that's probably a tad high. I think 10%, 10 to 15% maybe is pretty fair, because you figure. Usually left-handers make up about 10 to 15% of the tournament, so you're looking for equal representation there. But, I think the thing that got people, the right-handers, is the cross. And some pairs would get really tricky. Other pairs, depending on how people played them, would get really nice. And so I think that's been the big factor.
Yeah, I think it's pretty fair in this system now, because I think it's going to even everything out a bit, because if you're a right-hander and you know what you're doing, at least will be able to follow your own transition pretty well.
Yes.
And also, as a left-hander, you don't have to follow your transition that often, so you have to deal with that. So maybe it will be. I know, for example, Jesper, he hates coming onto the same pair again where he bowled.
Yes.
So he always been struggling is a very strong word when you shoot 1540, but
Yeah.
having something to do the last, but because this system has been that you finish on the same pair as you start.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
I like it. I've always really liked being on my pair. Just me as a bowler, I've always liked following myself. If I could just have a lane to myself, I can make them pretty nice for myself, because I know my game very well. I know what I like to see. I know where I want. If I look at a pattern or look how something's playing, you can say, okay, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to sacrifice the first 2 games so I can get the back 3, 4, 5 or whatever. So I think the system is very fair, because it entices people to not destroy their starting pair with oversurfacing or things like that, because they know they got to come back to it.
I agree.
Yeah, and I think the less variables that you can, or the more variables you can eliminate, the fairer the tournament gets. And I think your luck of the draw has always just been one of those variables that bowlers struggle with. So I think it was a really good move by the tournament to implement that procedure.
It's fun also when you have a tournament that changes up everything. Usually in Europe we see a lot of 6-game blocks, and usually what happens is that when everyone is in the final, so the last people who get by enters, you just follow, you take the points with you all the way.
Yeah.
But that can turn into quite not super exciting.
I think variety is really important. I was talking with Christus earlier today, and we were talking about variety and lane conditions, and you look at last year, how far left the players were playing.
Long pattern.
Very long. I mean, it was long. This is long. This is 42 feet.
Mm-hmm.
But you had to play a completely different zone of the lane. And now we come back next year, and now we're playing another completely different zone of the lane. And I think that's what's great about the Lucky Larsen term, and that's why I always love coming over here, is you're going to get something different every time. And I think that's, for me, that's very appealing as a bowler. Mm-hmm. It's not the same thing every time. So that's really good.
No, but without naming anyone, it's a little bit. Last year the pros dominated. There was 6 PBA guys in the top 8, but they've been having a little bit harder this year.
Well, playing inside is kind of the wheelhouse of the PBA professionals. You know, if you follow the tour around for 14 weeks, you're going to realize that those guys are pretty good around 5th, 6th, 7th arrow. Okay, I'll tell you what, you get them into that part of the lane, they are very comfortable there.
Yeah.
Now they do play further out, but generally speaking, they don't spend 6 games playing further out often. Sometimes they do at the U.S. Open or maybe a little bit at the Masters, but generally speaking on tour, you know, they get pretty left pretty fast. So, you know, I think the Europeans are maybe a little more comfortable doing that, using the urethane bowling balls and staying to the right. And I think that's why we have a lot more of them in the top 16 versus the PBA professionals.
Yeah,
Just my hypothesis,
yeah,
though.
yeah. I mean, when we come over to the States, we often feel that the mid lane hooks a lot more than we used to.
Yeah.
And that's usually what the Americans are so good at, moving to the left and creating pretty steep angle to get it through the mid lane, while we tend to try to get the ball to hook too late. So obviously we've been going over with fairly good results for us on the PBA, but also having a lot of problems.
Yeah.
So like you said, it's 2 different ball games.
Yeah, it really is.
But the only thing you can say that if you go to the PBA and you start learning to be versatile enough to play most of the patterns there, you're gonna be pretty well off whatever you throw at. Coming for the future and any world championship.
Yeah, I think when I worked on the tour, or when I bowled on the tour even, the things that stuck out to me that you had to be good at to be successful out there was understanding the traffic, understanding how the lanes are breaking down, and then making very informed decisions very quickly, and then having a very, very solid spare game and a very solid mental game. And those aren't things, there's like no secret to those things, right? And I know it's cliche, but if you want to go bowl on tour, I would make sure that you have a very, very good sense of, in the terms of experience, of high level bowling and competing with guys with higher rev rates and able to play a lot of different shots on the lane.
In the last couple of years, we've been trying to go on tour. Also, we've been doing our best into going in small groups, because everything gets, of course, less expensive if you travel in a group, but it also, you can see a little bit how the players from each ball company stick together a bit.
Yeah.
A little bit like a prison.
Yeah.
Groups and gangs.
Yeah.
And you don't want to be alone.
No, being alone on tour is not a good thing. No, it can be because you get a lot of time. If you don't make a cut, you get a lot of time, and if you're not good at managing time, it can lead you down some bad paths. So, yeah, I'm actually pretty surprised with this match we're watching right now. We've had one shot outside of the pocket, and we got no doubles.
We said it was going to be a tight match.
Yeah, I did say it was going to be a tight match.
Experiencing the same problems.
You know, the guys struck a lot in practice when I was down there watching, and I think the pattern, pattern's just transitioning quicker. It's stretching out faster, and the guys are just having a tough time getting the ball to see the lane the right way.
First double.
Yep, right there for Martin Larsen. A funny story about Martin. He's been, he joked he played golf Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and he says, I've been playing more golf than I've been playing the bowling.
Yeah, it's the reason behind that also is, of course, that we get a lot of people to come here and everyone wants to have a good time and so on. And usually, or from last year, it was pretty easy for most of the PBA guys to qualify, and then we could just send those guys out in groups to play golf.
Yeah.
But now they were busy.
They were busy bowling squads. Well, it was good for, I'm sure Daniel Ronbeck had a smile on his face getting the re-entries. A few more dollars in the coffer.
So if you would compare, like on the PBA tour, you said about you bowling very competitive bowlers. So I've been also going to the tour and watch, and sometimes you bowl pretty limited field with only the exempt players. And sometimes it's like the Masters where 360 people can bowl, and anyone can bowl.
Yeah.
If you're really fast and signing up.
Yep.
What would you put this tournament somewhere in between, or more like the Masters where you mix professional bowlers, bowlers that are fairly good,
Yep.
and bowlers who just bowl to get near the pros?
Yeah, I would say this is closer to the Masters because you're going to get women, you're going to get seniors, you're going to get amateurs, you're going to get club players, you're going to get a lot of different variety types of people coming out to bowl the event. Versus if you just bowl on tour, you're just bowling against the tour guys.
So more like already when you qualify to the final here, it would be more similar rev rate going on, or maybe even higher on the tour. Do you think higher?
Oh, higher on the tour, yeah. I mean, I kind of joke around. I said outside of Bill O'Neill, if your rev rate doesn't start with the number 5, you're not making any money. It's over here. You guys see it too. You got to have rev rate to be competitive nowadays. You got to have speed and rev rate, and it's that's why I got a lot of respect for Nathan. You know, making it through tour trials. You know, and he's just a classic style bowler. You know, he learned a version of the sport, 40 years ago, and he's still able to be competitive. How good you have to be to still be hanging with these guys with 500 plus rev rates that can throw at 18, 19, 20 miles an hour is unbelievable. That's an amazing feat. So, I guess wrapping around to the whole thing, yes, this tournament's more like the Masters. You get a lot more variety, but I think that makes the tournaments better. For me, as a fan, it's a lot more interesting to watch.
Yeah, I when I was standing and watching the last couple of blocks in the finals this morning before we went to the match play, I found myself looking forward to the match play a lot, because just watching a lot of games being bowled over and over and over and over, I find it kind of interesting when you change it up and started to see that, okay, now it's actually Ludwig against Paul.
Mm-hmm.
Who do I cheer for? Or do I have a feeling who I want to win this match? Or that kind of disappears sometimes when it's just a lot of games.
Yeah. Tough shot from Martin. He got it to the right early, and it overhooked, and that's been kind of one of the no-nos when you're playing out there. If you get it to the right early and catch a good amount of hand, you're probably going to pay a penalty.
Yeah, and it's pretty tight still. So Nathan he can benefit from this now. If he punches out, he's going to be in a lead with about a 10 pin.
Yeah, I mean, so Nathan can get out for 227. Martin's got, what has Martin got out there?
214.
Yeah, 214. So, but, in the grand scheme of things, he's only 13 down with 24 frames to go. Or, 20 frames to go. So,
what do you think about the scoring pace now? Do you think they're going to try to take advantage to go for a higher score? I think that they still look like they're playing a little bit on defense. A little bit.
Yeah, these matches are always really interesting because the scoring pace is...
Oof. That was out.
Yeah, he made sure to get that one to the edge. The scoring pace is usually relative to what's going on in the pair, right? Like, in the Masters, you watch, matches go 550 to 540, and then you'll see matches 750 to 740. And so, if one guy's scoring, generally the other guy's able to pick it up pretty quickly and keep up with them, and they just kind of push each other. Versus if one guy is lost and the other guy happens to be lost, then it's just kind of a grind fest. But people are grinding. They're in grind mode to just say, hey, 9 spare is a good enough number. I'm not trying to look for 250. I'm trying to look for a double. You know, so it really depends on what's going on in the pair.
I think that over the years, I think many people have been talking about, I don't know, luck is definitely not the right word, but I think Belmo is a very good bowler that always bowls just a little bit higher than the other guy.
Well,
he's been winning lower grind matches, but he's winning high scores too.
Yeah, he had, well, like any dominant athlete in their sport, they have the, Tiger had the Tiger effect, right? Like, he would just kind of hang around, and people would just stop playing their game, and they would try to play a game that they couldn't play to beat, they felt they had to play above their normal level to beat him. And that's how Belmo beats people, is he lets people beat themselves. I mean, guys, an unbelievable athlete, unbelievable bowler, arguably one of the greatest to ever throw a bowling ball, and his track record shows that. But I think a lot of it, too, is just that Belmo factor where he gets people to believe that
it's going to be very tight.
It'll be tight now, yeah. It's going to be 206, 204, depending on his count. Bowling against him, his advantage is he makes his opponents feel that they have to bowl at a different level than the level they normally can perform at. And so they try to do extra. And you know what happens when people are trying to do extra, right?
It very rarely works.
Yeah, it doesn't work nearly at all. And I think that's the Belmo factor. That's just being around an athlete who has been very, very dominant. I think that's the position that mentally he puts his opponents into. And I've bowled him a couple times, and I'm very happy to say that he puts his pants on one leg at a time, just like everybody else, and that's how I treated him. Now I can't say I've beaten him many times, but I can say that I didn't feel the need that I had to bowl outside of myself to beat him. I just said, I felt I could throw 12 good ones and I can beat anybody in the world. And I think if you want to be a great athlete, that's how you got to think.
So we're switching it up now to see the last couple of shots from James Blomgren.
Yes.
James has been looking pretty solid today.
Yeah, he's been solid the whole term.
I started out, he actually qualified in his third block.
Yeah.
But he still bowled 160, 150 over the first couple of times.
Yeah.
And then he bowled 1400, but he still did it, so he was pretty safe.
Yeah.
But today he bowled almost 1500.
Yeah.
And the first part of when he gets like this, he's going to be very hard to deal with.
I'll tell you what, I'm just going to be honest with you, and this is a left-hander talking. You let us play up 5-6, you're going to be in trouble. I'm just going to tell you that right now. That's probably one of the most comfortable spots on the lane for us, and it's a place where we can really play a lot, put up a lot of score on the board. That's just a part of who we are. I mean, that's it. And not taken away from him, because he's very talented, obviously. But he's in his comfort zone. He's making a lot of good shots.
I think also compared to some other bowlers, especially on the left, James is pretty good to get around the ball. So he doesn't have to have the break point further to the left in order to get a good entry angle.
Yep.
But if he can, it's going to make things easier. Dominic Barrett is doing well too, 260.
He's.
How do you feel in a game like this if you're trailing 70 after the first game? Obviously, you're both looking for finding something you can make a high score, but you also need your opponent to stop making really high scores because it doesn't help. So, as a lefty, you probably bowled a lot of matches against right-handers that you can't really do anything. But how much tactic is it, right-handers versus right-handers, lefties to lefties, when it comes to making the shot benefit yourself better than the opponent?
Well, here is my school of thought on that. I'm glad you asked because I think it happens. I think it happens a lot more nowadays than it used to. But I always want to beat people at their best. I feel if I have to do something that makes the lanes worse for somebody else, that what's that say about my bowling? I'm just gonna. My attitude is, I grow when my opponents push me to be better, and it's very easy to beat people at their worst. But when your opponents get the best out of you, that's when you really grow. As an athlete, as a human being, and those are the moments in sport that throughout your career will mean the most for you. Trophies collect dust, money spends and goes. I promise, I can say, because I've won plenty of tournaments, I've won plenty of money doing this. The memories of your performances and how you feel, that lasts a lifetime. The reputation you create amongst your peers will last a lifetime. And I'll tell you what, that means a lot more to me than feeling I gotta try to mess somebody's line. If you got two left-handers, two right-handers on the same pair, if I'm bowling them, I want the best out of them, and I'm gonna give them my best, because that's how I grow. I don't get any better trying to make somebody else worse. So, does that answer the question?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Definitely.
And I didn't mean to be philosophical there, but
But do you feel like everyone is sharing that view, or do you feel like on the tour also there's a lot of like? I also feel like when I was younger in bowling, what was not okay to do, that boundary is pushed a little bit further and further.
yep,
We see people who can both bowl back up
Yep.
and normal,
yep,
might want to bowl back up into the leftist line for the whole practice and then bowl normal.
yep,
We see high rev players trying to burn up the lane quick enough so you get enough left for the other person not to carry.
yep.
The other philosophical thing about that is that they think, okay, I'm with you, I don't like that either, but they think that it's just a part of the sport, and if I can do something that you can't do,
Yeah.
that's because I know something about the sport that you can't. Or it's a pretty hard question.
Yeah, I mean
But-
but and I'm not saying it's wrong.
Yeah, but-
All I'm saying is
Yeah.
what made me a great bowler
Mhm.
and the moments I've cherished for the rest of my life and my career is through what I said, right?
Yeah.
I'm
When
not.
somebody bowled good and you bowled even better.
Yeah, because I'll tell you what, if you want the respect of your peers, which I think a lot of people do at the end of the day, you want to be respected amongst your peers and by the people that watch you compete. Let people play at their best, and if you're really better than them, most of the time you're going to beat them if you outbowl somebody. So why? And I go back to this thing of saying, how you grow as an athlete is when your competitors push you to a new level. That's how you grow as an athlete, because you can't recreate those moments in practice.
Yep.
You can try all you want, but you're not going to. Like I said, I've always wanted to get the best out of my opponents, and I've always wanted to give my best to my opponents. And so for me, it seems counterintuitive.
Yep.
That being said, to the other side of your argument, okay? These people, if you're bowling for a living, at one point in time, you got to pay for things. If you have a family, you got to provide for your family, okay? So I'm not passing judgment down on saying, well, you shouldn't be doing this and yada, 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 because I'm on my ethical high horse. If you got a family to pay for, you got to do what you can to feed your family. All I'm saying is, in the long run, me personally, I think it robs you of a lot of really, really amazing opportunities to become a very well-respected athlete amongst your peers and in your profession. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
And that's just my view on it.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying my view is right. It's just my view on it.
Yeah. For sure. We switched over here again to see Jesper bowling Arna Johansson from Iceland. And scoring-wise, I would say it's a little bit lower than I expected it to be. But now they have been putting on the striking shoes.
They're striking now, and I think for both for Arnar and Jesper, it's just going to be a matter of getting the ball through the pins right way. That's another two really talented guys. I wish weren't bowling right now. I wish they were bowling later on, because I think Arnar is probably up there as far as one of the more talented one-handed traditional players, quote-unquote traditional, that I've seen in the last decade. I am incredibly impressed by his game.
Uh-huh.
He does some things with the bowling ball that is just downright impressive. Jesper is, I'm going to say that Jesper is the best left-handed bowler in the world today. And if you want to have a chat with me about it, we can have a chat, but I really believe that. And you'd have a very hard time changing my mind about that. So I think both guys have just had to get kind of comfortable, get the lanes to create some hold for themselves, and smooth out the pattern a little bit. And I think it's going to be a fun punch for punch here.
Arta is also pretty emotional, so you're gonna see it and you're gonna hear it if he's in the run.
Oh yeah, he's a local guy, right?
Yeah, he bowls. He moved from Iceland to Sweden to pursue his bowling career because bowling is a bit bigger here.
Uh-huh.
But he just switched teams to bowl for this center's team. So it's the same team as Carl Wahlgren and Patrick Backer as the bowling center. Actually, the Dutch guy, Jod van Deren, is also bowling there. It's a strong team.
Yeah. Well, and he's got a lot of supporters in the crowd. They're cheering for him, and hey, that all adds up in these matches if you let it affect you. you know?
I mean, I've been also, of course, both bowling with and coaching Jesper for a long time.
Yeah.
And he's been through a lot of competitions where everyone cheers for the other guy when he started doing really well as a two-hander and so on. So he's pretty used to it.
Yeah, he's used to it.
Yeah. So and if we look at the match on the other side of it, it's Marcus Jansson against Robin Ilhammar, both in Team Sweden.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty strong right-handed bowlers. Marcus has been in the team a little bit longer, and Ilhammar just made Team Sweden.
Yeah, and Ilhammar was bowling on the PBA Tour a little bit this year, and very impressive.
Yeah.
World Series, he bowled incredible. I mean, I think if you look at how that World Series played out, he's probably going to be in your top 5 players in that event overall with his performance.
Yep.
And really, really impressive for that guy. And I was talking to a couple of the reps about his performance at the World Series, and we all agreed that he bowled pretty good, and then he came back the next day and he had more confidence. And then he bowled pretty good again, and then he had more confidence. Then he came back and he bowled really good, and he just really stayed steady, but you could see the confidence growing in him, and I think that's really cool to watch, just as a person who appreciates sport. Watching athletes grow and get better is, I love to see that, and I don't care which brand they are or which hand they throw with or whatever. I'm a big fan of people having good success, well-deserved success out there.
So he started a junior team 5 years ago. So we were bowling the first championship 5 years ago in Vienna. And we had this problem in Sweden before, is that many of our good bowlers come from small cities where it's easy to bowl a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem is then if you get to 550 rev rate, you have double the rev rate to the rest of your team. So he could not play further in the third arrow because he never needed to do that.
Yeah.
So it's been a long journey to become a better and better bowler. But what happened when we went to the World Series was it was also going to be the first real competition without Purple Hammer for that. Say that. And we knew that it was going to be, he was kind of reliant on that ball.
Yeah.
And that's also why he started pretty poorly, but he was doing better and better, starting to get into all the other equipment. Now, and actually, he's starting to use more reactives and other stuff.
Yeah. I think that's important. You know, once again, you're talking about growing. You know, it's. I'm going to say this now because I'm 39 and have been bowling since I was 2. You know, if you get kind of set in a way, the sport will, believe it or not, the sport will pass you by. I promise, because I travel all over the world and am deeply involved with bowling with my job at Storm. And I'm telling you, our sport is always changing. And if you think, like, the minute you think, oh man, I got it figured out, and this is it, don't blink, because the sport will pass you by. And so being very adaptable and being able to do a lot of different things and having a high level of proficiency and mastery with all of those things is really, really important. I think kind of hitching your wagon to one style of play, for me, if you want to be a world-class athlete, that just spells disaster for me.
Yeah, I fully agree. And we've been a little bit stuck in that for a while now. And
Yeah.
it feels now that everything is moving a little bit in the right direction when it comes to a little bit more different equipment and more different patterns. And obviously, it's a bit different how things look at it. We've been having a few competitions earlier on in Sweden with pretty low volumes
Mm-hmm.
to see what happens. And the thought about that was to still let people play urethane if they wanted to, but not make it so tricky to play reactive if you wanted to.
Yeah.
And now we see some tournaments going to higher volumes, and we see everything in between. But I don't really know. So like you say, you don't know where things is going, so you better be prepared for whatever happens. And
Yep.
it's
Yeah, I mean, you just don't know what's going to happen. I mean, you have a lot of different governing bodies around the world, okay? And believe it or not, the politics or the environments change in those governing bodies. And you could wake up this time next year and the law or the rules of our bowling landscape could be completely changed. And then now you're behind the 8 ball because you said, well, this is it and this is all I need, and so I can only do this. So now you're going to give up what, a couple of years of learning a different game now to try to catch up. For me, I see that as a pretty tough pill to swallow. So, you know, I think you just got to understand that the sport is always going to be changing, and like you said, proficiency and mastery at a lot of different types of play, I think is needed. But then I also think it's good for the sport, because if we say, well, this is it, and if you can't do this, you're excluded basically from the sport. To me, that doesn't work. You don't get entries. The sport doesn't grow. Pro shops don't do good. Distributors don't do good. The industry doesn't do good. And then if you take those things away, then you take away all the support for your tournaments. So then the sport just caves in on itself. So there's a whole ecosystem there. There's a lot to this whole thing. Anyways, back to the bowling. Let's talk about some of this good bowling.
yeah, now that we see a lot of striking.
Yeah. Yeah.
Arta has been following up his 4-bagger with 4 spares, and without trying to predict the future too much, you're not gonna be able to spare yourself into a win against Jesper on this. So you better make some adjustments.
Yeah, I think Arner's just in place. He's trying to get his ball to see the lane the right way. And I think what's happening is the ball's just, it's a slang term, but we call it getting behind the head pin, not slowing down soon enough. And that's causing the bad carry, because he's throwing a urethane ball. If urethane balls get behind the head pin, even when your rev rate's pretty healthy like Arner's is, it's very tough to knock 10 down. And that's why, you know, just to make one final note on a previous conversation, if you're saying, well, you have to throw urethane to be successful. Well, if your rev rate isn't 450 and above, you have a very, very tough time making that equipment work for you. So women and senior bowlers, and then even traditional bowlers, they get forced out of the equation very, very fast.
Yeah.
So now we've taken a small amount of people who love to compete, and we've made it even smaller. All right, so that's that note. Arner is facing that problem right now, even with his high rev rate, where he's not getting the ball to slow down close to him. So he's going to have to make, I'm guessing what he's feeling is he's like, I don't want to get back on top of it because he's afraid it's going to hook early. And I think what he's probably going to end up having to do is he might have to open up his angles just a touch more, but he's going to have to move his eyes too, and maybe soften his hand up and let that ball slow down closer to him. He's really just probably guarding against going high, though, because he probably feels if he tries to let the ball hook, it's going to see it too early and go through the face. And he's like a split right now because Jesper is pacing 279. It's just death.
Yeah, but 3 more spares soon equals death too.
Yeah, and that's the great part about these matches is you get to a point where it's like, well, I'm going for broke. You gotta know when you're going to make those decisions. So it looks like he moved a little left and opened up his angles just a little more.
Maybe got a little bit more around.
Yep.
Okay, so Ilhamar is also letting Marcus into the match a bit. He was looking for a little while there that he was going to close the whole match, but an open in the 10th, and if Marcus punches out, it's going to be pretty tight. Only 10 pins.
Absolutely, and that's a momentum change too.
Mm-hmm.
You when you have things going for you, and then you open in the 10th like that, and then you let Jansen come up and triple for 240. You were in the driver's seat, and it's like you just took your foot off the gas, and now your opponent's passing you.
Pretty good shot. Oh, yeah, that was a pretty good shot.
That's that rev rate for you. My coach always told me growing up, because I always thought it was cool to whip pins around. Of course, what? Oh, wow, lucky break there. My coach always told me, he goes, don't get too excited about that, kid. I go, why not? I just threw a messenger. He goes, a messenger, a 10-pin messenger. He goes, it's just a flat 10 that got lucky. And he's right.
He's right.
That's all it is. It's a flat 10 that gets lucky. So when you're talking about ball motion, once again, we go back to what we were just saying, right? He's not getting the ball to slow down close enough to him. So, but he's such a good bowler. I mean, and that's feel,
And on the same subject of things changing all the time and messengers hitting the 10 pin.
Yeah.
We're having our first league match in a string center next weekend.
Yep.
And already there is rumors that it's hard to get to 200 because you're not getting any messengers.
Yeah, I mean
We'll
it's
see.
it's on USB-C.
Yeah.
The USB-C sanction machine.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's pretty tough to throw messengers on those. It's very, very tough. But that being said, the racks are always perfect.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think you got that. And then I also think in 20 years, people are going to look at the strain machine and say it's a bowling. They're not going to say it now, but in 20 years, I think people are going to look back and say, "Oh no!" On the
That felt a little bit unnecessary.
yeah, because that was on that string, and so now he gets 0. So it's like he just filled the 10th frame. 236.
I think that here everyone is first. Everyone was pretty upset because we had that World Games in the States.
On the unsanctioned
on
machines.
the unsanctioned, everyone saw that and thought that all the string machines gonna be like that. But after that, some Janovic was talking about it, and like people who's not trying to sell those.
Yes, yeah.
And so now we're just waiting and seeing what we think.
Yeah, I actually the center where I practice at my home went to the USB-C approved strain machine, and I like them. I'll bowl league on them. I'll bowl a tournament on them. I think they're incredibly fair. For the main reason that the racks are always good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I like about them. there's no disparaging in the racks, and you
Yeah.
you've seen plenty of bad racks in your time.
Yeah. And the thing also what happened here, that every time we tried string machines, it's been in a bowling center that doesn't have an oil machine.
Oh.
So you run in, they have an oil, but some old silver bullet or something.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
So when you run into something weird happening, you don't really know if it's the strings or the oil machine. So we're looking forward as a professional bowling center with a good oil machine.
Yep.
That would be nice. All right, we're back to watch Nathan and Martin. We can just say that on the match to the right, Ludwig Ingeskog against Paul Perps, that one is pretty over.
Yeah, that's just about mathematically over. So I think Paul Perps is going to win that one.
Paul won the World Championships for youth players just a month ago, and he's a real powerhouse, two-handed.
Yeah.
And when he gets striking too, he's much like some of the other two-handers on the left side. That there's no really stopping them.
Yeah, I mean, if you give them a place to play, they're going to use it all day long. You know, especially if that place is between the 4 and the 9 board, you're going to be in trouble. I've said that for a long, long time, and I'm pretty candidly about it. I've won my fair share of money playing between those boards, but that's just how it is. But we got a good close match with Martin Larsen and Nathan, though.
I was gonna say you predicted a close match. I'm gonna have to give you correct there.
All right.
But it's kind of funny because these two, there's so many similarities, so it can't almost be anything else than a good close match.
Yeah,
They would use the same lies. They have about the same rev rate.
Yep. Yeah, I think it's just going to be who's going to throw enough good shots.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're going to throw a lot of good shots, but maybe not good shots. I should say great shots.
But also the past week, it feels a little bit like Nathan has been in some kind of Disney movie, or a cat with 9 lives.
Yeah.
He's been making the tour trials. He's been making the turbo with bowling 300 when he needed 299. He made it as the last to make the first cut in the finals. So either the luck is going to continue on his side, or he just used it up, all of it.
Well, here's the thing. Okay, so I think what makes the story even better is he was 7 over going into the last game. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now, a lot of people, you're 7 over in a tournament where you got to be 200 over to qualify. They're just kind of, they're just kind of filling the frames, like kind of going through the motions, or they start
for someone to bet with the last game.
Yeah, or they start trying some different things. Nathan is probably one of the most mentally tough people I've ever met in my life, and it's just a testament to who he is. He never quits. And, so for him to, I think him being +7, a lot of bowlers would mentally kind of check out. Nathan Board doesn't. And that's the person he is. He doesn't quit on anything in life, and that's the bowler he is. He just never gives up.
And it's nice to see one of those guys also getting a benefit from that.
I agree.
Because I heard from the PBA Tour trials that he also did something quite remarkable to make it on the long panel, where he tried to go out and bowl outside because he gave up competing with the rev rate guys going left.
Yep.
So very impressive.
Yep.
Also very nice and good guy to work with when we get over to the States.
Yep. Yeah, just a great guy all around. I would never say no to spending time with Nathan Bohr. Never ever in my life. And I think we're gonna have a good last game between these two guys too. Yeah.
Martin,
I think it's gonna be entertaining.
Yeah. Martin is up 12.
Yeah.
So a little bit advantage.
Early double too. So this is gonna be really important for Nathan. This shot right here is gonna be incredibly important for Nathan. Nathan's into a ball he's been using quite a bit, and he's into a part of the lane that he feels very, very comfortable in. So Martin's going to have all he can handle here with Nathan, I have a feeling. That ball is reading the lanes very, very well. It's matching up very well in this bowling center. I've seen Nathan using it in previous blocks. And when I see this ball come out and it gets in Nathan's hands, generally the score goes up. So
And this was the kind of line I was talking about in the first game when I said they are bowling a little bit defensive.
Mhm.
They were still playing a little bit more up the lane.
Yeah.
And now he's actually shaping a bit.
Yeah, and generally on the fresh, I think he had to be outside of 10. Yeah. Outside of fresh, I think, or on the fresh, you need to be outside of 10.
Well, oof, almost
Yeah.
shaping too good.
Yeah, boy, that ball, he threw that ball incredibly well. And that would have been a very bad break had that pin stood up.
I also find it very interesting in match play because I think that what's going through their head, both Nathan and Martin is probably thinking about the same thing about the match. They're bowling somebody very similar to themselves. Maybe you want the other person to be the first one to try to move left and hoping he did it too soon.
Yeah.
But the one who wins this, for example, if you're going to play Paul,
Yeah.
it's going to be hard to have the same tactic because you're...
Oh, Martin, that was not a good shot there. Lawn right. Lawn right is a pretty bad. Short right's a bad miss. Lawn right's an even worser miss.
I was just going to say, but because if you have 10 over after 2, not even 300 might help you if you bowl one of the lefties who have that
Yeah.
look from the start.
Yeah, that's going to be a tough. If you're bowling Paul next, you got your work cut out for you.
So we have an update from all the matches. The first game, James is in the lead with 40 pins against Big Stampe. Mario from Italy is trailing 50 against Alvin Kvarnström, the young two-hander from Sweden. Dominic seemed to win against Mike Bergman if something very, very rare happens. Is up 80. Super tight match between Theodor and Erik Larsson. Ilhammar 30 up against Marcus, where we saw he still had a little bit lucky break in the last frame. 10 pins in under these two. So
Yep, it looks like Martin went to reactive resin on the left lane. I know that's a ball called the reality check that has kind of been his go-to. When he gets forced more into the middle part of the lane, that's the ball that's been working for him. So we'll just really, ball is in hand for Nathan here. He's going to control his own destiny.
Jesper has taken a comfortable lead
Over Arnar?
Yes.
Yeah. Jesper was my pick to win.
Mine too.
Yeah. Yeah. Nathan's ball reaction is so good. Martin needs Nathan to beat himself at this point in time. Because Nathan's, like I said, when I see Nathan take this ball out, generally the higher scores are coming with it.
It's a 300 ball, right?
No, this was
No?
not the ball he shot. Not the ball he used to shoot 300. This is a different one.
Paul strikes whatever he's doing.
Yeah,
He can get to 780 if he punches out.
that's a big set. That's a big set.
Oh!
So he almost solid 9 the last frame. And this frame, he solid 8s. Yeah, that's a reprieve for Martin. You know, if Martin can get up and double, that's a big statement. But Martin's not oblivious. He knows Nathan has really, really good ball reaction. And so it's going to take all Martin can produce to keep up with Nathan this game. and that's a tough place to be as an athlete because it goes back to that whole Belmo factor. When you feel you got to be perfect, that's a very tough place to operate in as an athlete.
Can I ask you, when this tournament is over now, and it's quite a long time left for the PBA season to start, what do the guys bowl in between?
There's
Regionals,
a lot,
small tournaments.
Yeah, they'll bowl regionals. They'll bowl, the weekend tournaments. There's a lot of stuff to bowl in the United States, depending on your area, obviously. Yeah, Martin went to the resin ball. He knew he had to get out of that urethane ball, and that was a big double. So let's see if Martin can get this. Yeah, no, the guys actually got the PBA League next week. So they'll be in Portland, Maine for PBA League, and then. And then after that, they're going to be, trying to find a lot. They'll probably, be taking a little breather, but then also bowling a lot of weekend stuff, regionals, bigger weekend tournaments in the United States. Especially, because our league season is starting up, tournament season's starting up, so they'll be doing whatever they can to get in shape.
Do you know when the PBA usually release the schedule so people can? It's tricky for us in Europe to plan it, but it has to be something like. It doesn't matter so much for these guys because they're gonna bowl all the tournaments.
Yeah.
But the order of the tournaments tend to shift a lot.
Yes.
And as a foreigner, Masters will be the best one because you get to bowl the tournament.
Yep.
So it's kind of tricky if the schedule shows up and that one is first.
Yeah.
So, oh shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hard question.
Ask Tom Clark. That's his. He's the commissioner, and he's your guy to ask.
Yeah.
So that's all I know about that one.
Yeah, but the guys tend to know approximately when it's going to start and end, and that's how they plan the season.
Yeah.
It starts sometimes a little bit earlier in January or a little bit later.
Yeah, it's going to probably start in January. It's going to probably end in April.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So.
you can bank on that. But
I would guess that most of the people have some kind of preparation time before the tour starts and so on. So.
Yeah, that helps everybody. You got to figure, all the ball companies got to get the truck stocked.
Yeah.
All the reps got to get their travel schedules arranged. All the players got to get their travel schedule arranged. All the centers, all the host centers got to know when they're hosting what events, pro-ams, everything like that. So yeah, there's a lot of planning that goes on behind the scenes for this whole thing. So hopefully, earlier the better, obviously. But I don't.
But will you guys will you be going on tour to bowl?
No. I retired from bowling on tour in 2021, and my job at Storm has me focused on our international activity. So, big shot there by Nathan.
Good match,
Yeah, this is going to be a good last game.
2 pins.
Yeah, Nathan's got really good ball reaction. Martin's fighting. Martin's in the right ball in the right part of the lane now. And I think the right lane is going to be the telltale for Martin. I think he's got a good reaction on 17. 18 wants to hang to the right. So he's got a guard against missing long right, but he also can't miss short. So he's got to throw it pretty good on 18. Yep, great shot. Really, really good shot. So, like I said, if this could be really good because Martin's got 265 out there, Nathan's got 279, and Nathan controls his destiny because Nathan's down by 12. So it would be a 2-pin victory for Nathan. So Martin's got to keep pushing Nathan, and once again, like I said, probably about 4 or 5 frames ago.
He still have some problems with those 9 and 8 pins.
Yeah, on the left lane.
Yeah.
You'd hate for him to do. I would hate for Nathan to lose like that because he shouldn't when you're throwing it that good and you got that good ball reaction going. But Nathan's going to need to beat himself. That's the only way Nathan's going to lose this match is if he gets a really bad break or he just doesn't execute.
Front 8 on Jesper.
Jesper's got the front 8 and his match secured.
Yeah.
so he's moving on. And after, I tell you what, after his loss last year, I really hope he gets another go at it this year.
Dominic Barrett is moving on.
Yep. So it'll be Jesper against Don Barrett, right? In the bracket?
That would be a tough match.
That
Both
would-
are making really high scores.
I tell you what, that would be a heck of a match to watch. Well, so Martin got his 2 strikes, and Nathan's got to get up and get his 2 strikes. Martin's going to finish first, so he'll be putting all the pressure on Nathan. Good shot. Yeah. Yeah, Nathan. The black ball of doom. When Nathan gets that ball out of the bag, man, you know it's big scores are coming.
James Blomgren is in trouble now. There's some changes going on in a lot of matches, but of course it's very tight, so we might just stay and stick this one out.
Yeah, this is going to come down to 10th frame here for sure.
And I have to say too, I mean, I'm following a lot of tournaments and also last year, but usually in a lot of tournaments you see some weird things happen or some lucky break changing everything, but I haven't seen that much on these patterns, and of course there's very good bowlers here. But you don't see a lot of Brooklyns, you don't see a lot of tripping 2 pins, and most of it is pretty solid.
Yeah, and I think, I was talking with Christus about, the conditions. Okay, the scores were just a touch higher, but they weren't, there's a very, very fine line between making them too hard, where it's just who cannot split and who can get if you pull it, you pull it by 3 instead of by 1, so you Brooklyn instead of splitting. Like, for me, when the lanes get like that, are we really identifying the best bowler that day? Great shot by Nathan. I don't think so. I think there has to be a level of playability
I agree.
to him, and that goes to your point. We're not seeing Brooklyns or crazy things happening. Where that's deciding the winner and the loser, and I don't think it should.
I agree 100%. If you make the patterns unplayable, of course it's still gonna benefit great bowlers to some degree, but that's mostly because they can spare.
Yeah.
And if you make them too easy, the same things back. It doesn't matter. But this one, I think it's good. I think it was good last year too.
Great shot. So
this is a pretty crazy match.
So
and you said it was going to be tight.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to come down to 10th frame. Martin.
But it's impressive that
Martin's bowling for his life right now. I mean, you start getting to an age and you don't know how many more chances you're going to get. And Martin's got a good chance here, and he needs them all. I can't imagine Martin's doing the right thing. He's going to take some time. He's taking a re-rack. Just wants to drag this. If I'm Martin, I'm dragging this out. One good one at a time. Don't get quick. Just go through your normal process. Do everything the exact same, but take your time. Do not get ahead of yourself. Big shot there. So now
the pressure is back on.
Well, he's got to get the next one. Yeah, he's got to get the next one. Yeah.
Nice.
Basically, Nathan has to match whatever Martin does.
Yeah.
So Martin got the first one. Nathan will need to get the first one. Martin gets the second one. Nathan will need to get the second one. Martin gets the third one. Nathan will need 6 or better, I believe.
It's just 2 pins, right?
Yeah,
This is actually an easier situation for Nathan because he usually only needs all of them. Now he just needs all of them, but he can throw 9 in the field.
Yes, yeah.
So this is the easiest he's ever had.
Yeah. This is the big one, though. If Martin forces Nathan to double, that's a load to carry. Martin's going to balk.
That's like 3 or 4 times.
Yeah, he's done it a few times. He just, if he's not committed to his process, he's comfortable with stopping, then stop. We're not on TV. There's not a shot clock.
I was going to say, do you have anything again like that on the PBA? Like, you can't do that like 10 times without people having a problem with you, right?
Guys will let you know. Yeah, you don't want to do that. Yeah. Great shot from Martin. And you can hear the crowd. You can hear that crowd. We can hear the crowd from the room. We're underneath the steps behind the bowling center, or behind the bowling lanes, and we can hear the crowd back here.
Yeah.
This is like a World War II bunker, I think. But we can hear him. The crowd is really behind Martin. And all 10 here, you just never know. You never know. Get all 10 pins. Take your time. Get all 10 and sit down and see what happens.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Still the pressure to get the first 2. Now
Gotta get the first 2.
That doesn't really matter.
Yep, got to get the first 2.
But
Great performance.
Yeah. And I was going to say, this is what I love. I know as a bowler myself and everything, match play kind of sucks because it's always going to be like, I bowled 700 and that guy won, he bowled 610.
Yep.
But as a spectator watching it, it's so much more fun
Yeah.
when you get into this situation.
Yeah. Yeah. So Nathan's just got to match Martin. First 2. He's the first 2.
So what's your prediction?
Boy, I tell you what, Nathan's got great ball reaction. He's very, very confident. I mean, look at what he's been doing the last couple weeks. So he's going to get up and stick. He's done this so many times in his life. He's not going to treat it any different. He's going to get up and he's going to make the shot he knows how to make. It's just going to be whether the ball carries or not. It's got to hurry.
Outside. Oh.
No.
That was a bit.
No, he'll tell you that wasn't his best. He will tell you that wasn't his best. And like I said, lane 18, Haynes a little to the right. So if you get it a little on right, you're going to be in trouble. But how great is there's really no loser from those 2 because we were talking at the beginning of the broadcast, right? I wish they were bowling for the title.
For sure. It's also very hard to bowl against Lucky Larsen during the Lucky Larsen and betting on hitting the pocket and strike.
Yeah.
When it's...
He's not called Lucky Larsen for nothing,
Exactly.
right?
So he's working against them. All right, so what's happening here? It's pretty exciting. James needs a double because he opened, right? He can get to 650.
Oh, Tim Stampy opened, yeah.
I can tell you that's a big, for most of the people here that is going through to the next round, they might want to see James going out.
Yeah. Nope.
That's rough.
Nope. So Tim moves on.
Yeah, that's a little bit surprising to me.
Me too.
Jesper, Ilhammar, Barrett, Tim Stampe, Mario Del Guadio,
Martin Larsen and Paul Purps. So we got
Theodor Samuelsson, Martin Larsen, Paul Purps.
so Theo or Teo,
Yeah.
Theodore. So we got 3 left-handers left. So then there is 3.
1 out. No, he got it. We're mistaken.
No, he's staying. Oh, he needed to make the spare.
Yeah, our bad.
Sorry.
Oh, I need a 2 pin. 3 pin.
All right, so there's still 4. So we're gonna have some in the finals.
See if they bowl each other, any of the lefties, or if it's gonna be lefty against righty in all the matches.
It'll be very interesting if you get 2 left-handers bowling each other. I think that's gonna be very, very interesting.
My guess is for the lefties that they don't want to bowl James because James is better at creating a lot of shape than the other lefties. I think.
Yeah, I can see that.
Oh, that was exciting.
Yes, that was a very great round. Great round.
All right.
All right.
See you later, guys.
See you.
Wow, what can you say? It ain't over until the, oh, you know who. Oh my God. We got some unbelievable bowling. Give it up for the top 16, ladies and gentlemen. And the top 8 that has advanced: James Blomgren, Mario Leguillo, Dominic Barrett, Theodor Samuelsson, Martin Larsen, Robin Ilhammar, Jesper Svensson, and Paul Purves. Congratulations, making the top 8. We will have Kegel to make the lanes fresh again, and starting time is set to 3 o'clock. So stay tuned.